Hey guys, it's your girl LaTanya Moore with Real Perspectives, and we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Amber Hawkins, and she is the president and CEO of Your Computer Needs of Toledo, LLC, based in Toledo, Ohio. Amber does digital training, marketing, and she also retails computers and accessories. She has an interesting story about her journey to entrepreneurship, which she is here to share with us today. Amber, welcome to the show.
Hello, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So here at Real Perspectives, we love the woman entrepreneur, and we always love the stories of the ladies who just kind of just said, you know what, enough is enough, at this job. And so I am going to just kind of just step out on faith. Give us a little bit of the background of how you started Your Computer Needs of Toledo.
Well, what happened was I had experienced different series of layoffs unexpectedly. I think I lost count after 5. And it's like, okay, I have a master's degree, I have this type of experience, that type of experience. How in the world and I'm not able to find a job? This doesn't make any sense to me. So what I did was, after looking at one of those job boards and trying to find jobs, even ones out of town, out of state, and keep getting rejection letters or we thank you for applying, but we accepted someone else, in the wee hours of the morning while everybody was asleep, I was like, you know what, I'm tired. That's it. I'm just going to go ahead and start my own business. That way I won't have to lay myself off. So I did that. I took a small business course after that, and with $1,000 of unemployment money, I was getting unemployment at the time, a wing and a prayer, as I always say, I just said on January 1st, 2005, I'm going to, quote, unquote, open the doors of Your Computer Needs of Toledo, LLC. I didn't have everything in place. I didn't have everything pinpointed here or pinpointed there. I said, you know what, I don't have anything else, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
I love that because, that's really brave, Amber. A lot of people literally just could not have done that. I mean, that's just the reality of things. They would have kept getting that unemployment or doing everything that they could because, again, just saying, you know what, I'm just going to just step out on faith, for lack of a better word, and just do it. And I'm sure that there have been some ups and downs, and talk with us about what has kept you going, though, because you've been in business about 11 years, and that is really a testament, certainly to your fortitude. So talk with us about some things that have really kept you going and keeping Your Computer Needs of Toledo afloat.
Well, I appreciate that. One of the things I had to do was, even in the midst of downtimes, I talked with people who were fellow entrepreneurs, asked them how they got through their adversities, a lot of prayer, of course. And then in talking with some fellow entrepreneurs, I got in my mind, it's like, okay, what happens if I do give up? Because there have been plenty of times I was like, you know what, that's it. I'm just going to throw in the towel and just, get my resume out of file 13, as they used to call it, and just go ahead and look for a job. And throughout time, there were like some side jobs or temp jobs that I had. But then I thought to myself, if I give up, I will be not respecting myself, so to say. I will be like, how could I do this to myself? If I give up, I'm not going to be able to experience what I worked so hard for, what I prayed for, and what I have done to overcome the obstacles that I had thus far. So I just kept persevering, kept going. I said if I have to take a break and rethink things, I will take a breather for myself and all of that. Any online, like seminars or whatever that were in my field, I looked at those. Any networking events that talked about small business and how to overcome, I attended those. And I tried to make sure they were the ones that were free because the unemployment was running out at the time, and I could only do what I could at the time. Anything about my field that I needed to know, tried to keep abreast with that. Were there times in which there were, like, discussions, I'll call them, in which family, friends helped, very appreciative. You love rainbows, but you don't love for them to come in the form of letters saying first notice, second notice, third notice, final notice, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some times it was, kind of stressful, kind of tough. But I kept in mind, and although they passed on, I always kept thinking about my parents as well, because it's like, I don't know how they did it, but somehow, some way, if they couldn't find this way to overcome an obstacle, they always found another way. And so I kept that in mind as well. So it boils down to what would happen if I did give up. And when I thought about that, that's when I kept going. I'm like, okay, let me just keep going. And I've experienced where I'm glad I didn't give up. There were also times in which sometimes contracts didn't work out the way that I planned, thought, or the like. I just kept that in mind again. What if I did give up? What if I do give up? Am I going to understand, and am I going to be able to live with this decision? A lot of times I thought to myself and answered myself, no, I'm not going to be able to. I can't give up. I got to keep going.
And that's a really, you said so much. You said so much in that, because a lot of people really don't understand the value of getting a network of people that can either help you, or people that are, when I say help you, whether that's financially, whether that's to give you advice, whether that's to give you encouragement, whether that is to connect you with resources that you need to keep going. And people don't realize the value of having that motivating factor. And you mentioned several of them, but a lot of people really don't understand that there's always a purpose behind what we do. And I love the fact that, again, like you mentioned, a lot of prayer, because a lot of people don't realize the power the power of prayer, and prayer will get you through, even if it's just getting your mind right, where where you're not thinking about the end, or the edge, because a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs have gotten to that very dark place. You start to second guess yourself, like you mentioned. I've done it myself, and I've interviewed and talked with a lot of entrepreneurs who have said that. I started second guessing myself. I thought I was crazy. Those of us that believe that we were following, what God's plan for us. Some of us were like, hey, did I miss you? Like, what happened? So I get it, and it's really a phenomenal story. And I want to talk a little bit in detail about your business, specifically what you do and the services that you provide.
Okay, what Your Computer Needs a Toledo LLC encompasses foundationally is the specialty that I do is on-site training. I started off, and periodically I still do, I provide computer training for those who are home, which means I will come to your home and train you on your own computer. You have people who, let's say they purchase computers and they don't have any idea how to operate them, how to use them, or like what shortcuts and advantages they can do on their computers. So I will, come to your home. As the years went by, I've expanded to where I will go on the business site and do training, whether it's one-on-one or with a small group. The largest group I've had, I think it was 60. Yeah, 60, because it was an all-day, so it was from a company. 15 had to come early morning, 15 had to come mid-morning, lunch break, and then 15 in the early afternoon, 15 in the later afternoon. So that one had to be broken up, that style. I've had it where there were those when I was training one-on-one right at the office site, there were like some looks. And some of them were positive looks. Some of them were like, okay, what is she doing here? And why is she training our administrative assistant? Well, I was contracted to because for one reason or another, that administrative assistant or that supervisor or whomever needed what's considered just-in-time training. Just-in-time training boiled down to where, okay, I do not have time to register for a course or a training or a class, go through 6.5 or 8 weeks or whatever, the regular routine. I have a problem with Excel, PowerPoint, Word, whatever, and I need to have this problem solved now. How do I get this done? So I encompass that. I also do, and I've incorporated more so online training, or virtual training as they call it, where I will teach you live online using my laptop and doing some screen sharing. So I've done screen sharing training as far as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, Publisher, and even computer literacy. I do public speaking, and as you mentioned before, I also sell computers and accessories online from the company's website. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. There are other products and services that I do, including internet research reports, video advertising, form and PDF creations, and, printable document formats, in case anybody didn't know what PDF stood for. That's one of the things that it stood for. I have to remember and I have to understand that not everybody knows computer technology jargon, so I will make sure to break it down for you, and I have done trainings as far as that. If you don't know what, let's say, GB, gigabyte, and all those other terms and technologies and all that, I will break it down for you. Don't worry. Or if I don't know, I will find out.
Well, I like it because it sounds to me that your target audience are people that are kind of, I guess you would say, left of the tech divide, sort of people that are behind the 8 ball.
Exactly, correct.
I know a lot of people that are, and unfortunately it is a lot of people, quite more than I would like to know, that really don't use computers. And if they use them, it's not in a useful way. In the sense of they're not creating documents, they're not using or utilizing email. They don't know what a PDF document is. Now, I tend to find that in older people than younger people, and I think that's just because part of it is that depending on your generation, you just kind of grew up with it, so it's almost natural to be able to do certain things, certain minimal tasks, not the things that you're talking about as far as Excel and how to work it and how to work Access, because there are people that don't know how to do those things. So if that's your target, what are some things, like how do you find that group? And I'm asking because a lot of it seems like it would be very labor intensive to find that group, seeing that they're typically not online. How are you getting your referrals?
Well, it's going to be where, for those who would like to become entrepreneurs, it's going to take a good amount of work, footwork, talk work. I know that's not a phrase such as talk work, but I'm using it because
it's yours if you use it.
Yeah. The thing is that you're going to have to let it be known out there that this is what you do. And you're going to, I would say before then, make sure you have it together before you say anything. When I say have it together, I have come across a few veteran, even like beginning entrepreneurs who, okay, you have to have definitely a website presence. You definitely have to have your full information on business cards or promotional flyers or that printed material that you're going to use. I have seen business cards where it's just that person's name, that number, and that email address. I said, okay, well, what's the name of your site? But I don't have one yet. You have a Yahoo or AOL email. If you want to try to grow your business, you're going to have a business email. But I can't afford to get one. Okay. So you have to sometimes keep it moving. Have that. What is the name of your business going to be? And make sure it is one that you can use, because you don't want to have the name of your business and then find out that someone else also has that name or has a copyright to that name. So you have to make sure you definitely research that. There are other factors you got to do, but at least have those three in hand. Find out and do next research as far as whatever business you want to go into and let people know about. What are the current trends that are happening? And you can even say a Google or Yahoo search current trends in the landscaping business or something like that. Maybe have, and since everything is more technological now and all of that, do you have videos, maybe short videos of you performing a task in your business? You can place that on your website. You can place that if you have social media outlets related to your business, such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, Periscope, all the others. You're going to have to get a buzz. Any networking events you attend or have the chance to attend, have the opportunity to not only have your printed material with you, but let's say there's a business networking event in the form of an expo. Go there. A lot of them are free. When you go to table, when you exchange business cards or even pamphlets, I know not many people use pamphlets, the word pamphlets these days, but I'll just use it since I mentioned it, pamphlets, brochures, and the like. Find out whichever booth you go to, what business are they in. Find out as you're talking with them, maybe do some cross-promoting. Cross-promoting is if you find, let's say, a business that interests you, talk with that person and say, hey, this is what we'll do. I know some people that can use your business. I'll promote for you, and you promote for me if you know people that can promote my business. Now, the trick of that is you're going to have sometimes to use your gut feeling. You might run into someone who has your card and they just don't have an interest. Well, that's not the person to try to talk with as far as cross-promotion. If you go to another booth and you can tell a person has interest and they say something to the tune of, oh, you do this, I know some people that really could use your product, or that are people that can really use your service. That's the person that you would need to talk with and talk about as far as steps to take is, in cross-promotion. I know I'm saying a lot, but there is a lot to be done, and I don't want it to be where no one has been told that, well, I didn't know all this was involved, and it's going to be repeat. This is a 24-hour-a-day, 365-day a year, 365-day and a quarter every leap year type of thing when it comes to entrepreneurship, small business, and the like. Do you have to make sure you keep your health intact and everything, get the rest and everything you need? Yes. Are you going to have to, take breaks every now and then, kind of get your mind together and take the time to do all that's necessary paperwork-wise and research-wise? Yes. Are you going to have to do it where you're going to have to increase your hustle because this business is going to be your job, which means you might have to, if you're used to having that employee mindset and getting up, doing this, doing that, and you got to be at work at, let's say, 8, 9, 10, till 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Oh, no, it's more involved than that. You might have to get your hustle started going at 6, 7 in the morning and won't end till 10, 11, 12 at night. But somehow, some way, get that 8 hours in and all of that. So I'll just conclude this part by saying that you got to get out there. You got to make yourself known among the crowds. And as far as gaining the referrals and all of that, gaining referrals by going to these networking functions, gaining referrals by, believe it or not, I've gotten a few customers off of Facebook and LinkedIn, putting it out there and being persistent in putting it out there. You're going to have to sometimes go to community meetings because you got to let your community know of what you do. You got to ask people, even your friends and family. You can use friends and family that support you. That's the key, that supports you. Unfortunately, there are times when you run into family and friends who, for whatever reason, will not support you. Not that you don't love them, but you got to keep it going. You have a chance to, such as this opportunity here, if there are ways in which you can somehow, some way gain the opportunity for a person to interview you via local TV, via internet radio, podcasting, even live streaming. There are some events that you could probably go to where they are live streaming, and whoever is doing the live streaming, if you have that person's permission to, let's say, hi, whatever, and then you can shout out your business or whatever, take advantage of that. Ask the person if you can have a copy of that video or the link to that video so you can promote it yourself. Or if you are tech challenged, have someone who can help you with that has knowledge of tech, that has knowledge of social media. And out of all of that, I hope that answered the question. Again, there's a lot, but again, there is a lot to it.
Absolutely. I mean, being an entrepreneur is so multifaceted. And you're right. I mean, you gave a lot of great nuggets. Just to sort of recap, I know that I am a huge proponent of networking. I believe that since we live in a global society, we have to understand that regardless of the goods and services that we provide, the world could benefit from what we have to offer. And I know when I'm coaching clients, that is one of the things that I try to get them to see is that there's a global market now. It's not just your local and regional or even your national market at this juncture. And so with a company like Your Computer Needs of Toledo, because again, I think I'm trying to get a little bit of a handle on, is this something that is are you promoting your brand on the global stage, or are you looking for just a very a small niche market in your area?
I'm promoting it on a global stage because I'm not saying that I don't recognize my community or my area, but it's a lot more than that. And a lot of entrepreneurs make that mistake that, well, I'll just have this and I'll get the support of my city. I'm not, and my local community and all of that. I'm not saying that that won't happen, but at the same time, you're going to make it a disadvantage upon yourself if you don't understand that your product or your service could provide a benefit in China. It could become an advantage to someone who lives in Australia. You might be able to export something to Africa and all of there. So why limit yourself? This is a global thing because, honestly, when you even get your web presence, you have to understand. Maybe you might be targeting only local, but it's actually worldwide. Because once you're on the web, boom, that's world. Why do you think they call it the World Wide Web? It's not the local wide web. It's not the community wide web. It's not the city wide web. It's not the neighborhood wide web. It is a world wide web.
Right. And I think a lot of people, they are, a lot of people, quite frankly, are intimidated by the web, because the thing about the website is that it is still a passive way to get business. I mean, typically it's a passive way to get business unless you're actively promoting it. But then it also is a way for people who hear about you, they can go and find out what you're doing. Now, a lot of people see now the website has kind of replaced the brochure. The website has replaced a lot of the paper products that some of us in smaller communities, would tend to still use, because that's what we have to do in those smaller communities. But for a company like yours, let's say that, okay, so I have a large number of contacts in the Caribbean. And one issue that I know, and actually now I think about in certain parts of Africa as well, there's a challenge to full access to certain things on the internet. There are things that here, we get them and they're free, and so we just use all these apps, but these folks have to pay. What are some things that with what you do, what are some things that you would help a small business? Let's say I'm a small business and I'm trying to get into the Caribbean, and now you've identified all of these challenges that, I don't know, people in St. Kitts or wherever tend to face. What are some things that you would advise me to do as a business to make sure that I can get my services in front of these folks?
Okay, one of the things I would say, when you're outside of the United States, you need to find out what any rules and regulations are as far as, let's say, exporting a product or making a service available in another part of the world. You're going to have to find out what the rules and regulations are. So sometimes you can go to a site, and the main Caribbean site, but you probably, if you're not knowledgeable of it at first, you're going to have to do it through the World Wide Web, do some searching. But what I would do, I would even put this in the search engine. Let's say doing business in the Caribbean. Any links that come up, click on those links and read thoroughly, because a lot of times that information would be presented on what to do and to follow whatever the task and procedures are. Another way is that I believe it's called FranNet or like franchising. If there are any events that talk about if you're interested in exporting a service or a product, I would say attend those events and ask questions, because they are going to give you the breakdown of what it takes to export a service or a product. And it's going to involve a lot. Exporting and selling a product or making a product or service available in your own country is going to be different than outside of a country. So any service that provides information on how to export, and they're giving an event where they'll talk about that, I would say attend that event. Because even when I was checking on the event or checking out information as far as exporting or even selling a product to someone outside the United States, it's a lot more involved and a little more complicated than a lot of people realize. And sometimes that does not happen right away. Sometimes even in filling out any paperwork necessary and making sure that it's processed correctly can take some time, because you are interested in doing business outside of the United States. And however they process paperwork sometimes is not right away. Like we can do instantly, and not that other parts of the world cannot do it immediately. There are other parts of the world that probably still aren't technically advanced. You might run into a situation where you try to sell in some parts of the Caribbean, for example, as you mentioned, and they are still in a remote part of the Caribbean where the nearest internet access might be 20, 30 miles away. They're in need of your product or your service, but it's going to take a lot more involvement, a lot more time, and more tasks in order to do that. So I would say two things. One, do your research as far as how to do business with the Caribbean or the other side of the world, other parts of the world, in whichever countries. And two, check out events that talk about information on how to export your product or your service, the correct procedures and all from there. Now, in some instances, I haven't done this myself. When you're researching, check to see if they are going to require you to fly to that area, because you got people who still want to do the face-to-face and all of that. So you guys to take that into consideration, but check that out first, because you may not have to travel. Maybe it can be done with an online meeting. It's going to depend on the policy and the procedures that are required if you want to do business or sell your products or services to any place outside the U.S. And you're going to have to understand as far as how other products and services are coming into our country, they have to follow whatever procedures and policies in order to get their products here to the United States.
Awesome.
So this is why it's worldwide. Mm-hmm. So if you're talking, excuse me interrupting. So if you're talking about trying to export or sell your product or your service, that's really another realm, because it can get intense. I went to some informational sessions in regard to that, and I found out how intense it really is. Sometimes it's intense as far as just the paperwork itself. I said, they are asking, they really want all this information? Yes, they do.
Mhm. Well, you've definitely given our listeners a lot of nuggets, a lot of considerations, and a lot of things to think about. How can they find out more about you and your business?
Well, you can contact me telephone-wise, 419-304-4564. The Contact Us link of yourcomputerneeds.net. I can also be found, the company page on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Twitter handle is YCN as in Nancy, OTLLC05. So that's short for Your Computer Needs of Toledo LLC, and the 05 represents 2005 when the company got started. You can also email me. It's MzPresCeo at yourcomputerneeds.net, M as in Mary, Z, PRESCEO at the regular spelling of all Your Computer Needs, Your Computer Needs, and then .net.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amber Hawkins. Guys, I'm your host, LaTanya Moore, with Real Perspectives, where we seek real people with real issues and real solutions from real perspectives.